I do feel I have some duty on a personal level as well, because I've always had my own suspicions about this. Dumbledore being gay.
I thought you were going to ask something completely. Yeah, go on.
Dumbledore being gay.
Yeah. Well,
was that something that was just thrown out for the American press to get them stirred up a bit? No.
No, it did.
No, it did, which is obviously was very funny. But
but I found people's reaction to that really interesting, and I'll tell you why. By the time that I said that, I had been working on these characters for 17 years. Now, not many writers have ever been with the same set of characters for that long. Right. So I feel I can sort of speak for all of us who have to say it becomes a very intense experience, and inevitably you are going to know things about characters, and I'm characters in the plural, that are not, in some cases will be relevant, and you'll think, oh yeah, this is the moment that becomes relevant, and I will say that or show that. Right. For example, Professor McGonagall, I had a whole history worked out for her that I thought at some point would become relevant, that she'd had a love affair with a muggle, and that she'd had this quite tortured past, and she ended up being this celibate elderly teacher. Never became relevant, never happened. And as time went on and I got to know Dumbledore, but this is before the publication of Philosopher's Stone, so bear in mind, at this point, I've been with him for 7 years. I knew he was gay. I just knew he was gay.
Okay.
And to me, it was not a big deal. This is a very old man who has a very terrible job to do, and his gayness is not really... It's not really relevant. Very relevant to him as a character, because I always saw him as a very lonely character. And I think that there is, in fact, a hint of it in 7, because the relationship he has with Grindelwald, he fell very hard for this boy. He's awfully trusting of this good-looking young man when he shows up. And don't you think it was perfect that Dumbledore, who is always the great champion of love, Harry, love will save us, love, his one great experience of love was utterly tragic. Yeah. It was with someone who was dangerous and demonic.
Yeah.
And so, and created absolute havoc in the world and created havoc for him. So that was my idea of Dumbledore's tragic backstory. Yeah. Now, I liked leaving it open so that perhaps a more worldly reader would see that there was, that may have been in that relationship. Yeah. And perhaps a 9-year-old would think he made a great friend and he trusted him.
Exactly.
Do you know? So I was okay with that.
Through all the books.
But in the context of how I was writing about him, in other words, he's giving, clearly, he's John the Baptist to Harry's Christ, isn't he? He's the nearly ran man, the man who nearly could have had the Hallows, but he was too power hungry. That was what was interesting to me about Dumbledore. So he's used in the book, clearly, he's the fount of all worldly wisdom, and he teaches Harry what he needs to teach Harry, because he recognises that Harry is going to be the one, or Galahad to Lancelot.